Um, okay, Ebony, I'm so glad that you're here. Ebony Thyme, welcome to Nurses Living the Good Life. And thank you for taking the time. I know that you are busy, at least based on your Instagram feed. You are an avid traveler. You are an NP who also travels. And I'm so glad that you're here to share a little bit more about your journey, your story, and how you, it seems, are really living your version of the good life. So thank you for coming on here, and tell, if you would, just start off, tell us a little bit just about your background and where you started in your nursing journey.
No problem. Thank you for having me, by the way. So I am originally from New York City, born and raised in the Bronx, New York. I have a total of, I want to say about almost 10 years of nursing experience. I became a nurse in 2014. I have a med surg and ICU nurse RN background. And I completed my master's as a family medicine nurse practitioner in 2018. But before I even get into the details of how I became a traveling nurse practitioner, I was a travel nurse right after NP school. So I didn't rush to get a job or anything. Like, my friends were landing positions and things like that. I just needed a mental break. I was working full time as an ICU RN, and I was a staff and RN anyways. So it was a little bit, I felt overwhelmed. I was glad to graduate, but I went right into travel nursing. So for a year, I worked as a bedside RN. Bedside travel RN. And give me 1 second, because my dog is here, so I don't want her to bark.
All right. That's all right. I got Stella in the corner. You know what? Sometimes she has a moment where she's dreaming, or all of a sudden she's snoring, or
Okay.
So it's all right. You're in good
In the
company.
back, I'm like, oh my God, please don't bark while I'm talking. Okay, you can cut that part out anyways. So I stayed for a year as a travel RN, as an ICU travel RN. My first assignment was in California. And before taking that travel assignment, I had told my best friends that I wanted to document my journey as a travel nurse. This was before social media. I didn't have social media at this time. And so my best friends brought me a scrapbook, and they brought me one of those cameras that you could just automatically print out the pictures and then fly it off.
Yeah.
They brought me that, and they was like, go ahead, do what you did, do what you got to do, to document your journey. And I still have those scrapbooks to this day. So I landed a position in San Francisco, California, and I stayed there for about 3 to 5 months or something like that. And I started just pretty much taking pictures of North California and putting it into my scrapbooks. Now, that gets super duper expensive, buying scrapbooks from Michael's and printing them out at Walgreens. And so it gets really expensive. And though I enjoyed doing it, I needed another platform to do this, right? So that's where Front Page Eb had came out, and I started just pretty much documenting all of my travels, international travel. So I kind of steered away from the state travels and started traveling internationally and documenting that, especially because I developed the ability to travel solo through travel nursing. I was like, you know what, I could do this internationally. My first trip was to Colombia, yes, to Colombia, and I started documenting all of my travels on social media, not knowing how social media works or anything, just showcasing the beauty of different parts of the country. And from there, people was always curious, okay, what does she do for work? Because I never spoke about work. I just always spoke about travel. And so my platform on that page had just blew up from there, just because I showcased different hotels, different things to do. I'm very cultural driven. And so people started following me for that reason. And then I wanted to talk about the process, how I got to that point to be able to travel internationally, to work with different companies and sponsorships and those kind of things. And it really started from my nursing background, becoming a travel nurse. And I loved it so much that when I didn't know when I wanted to be a nurse practitioner, even though I had the degree, right? Mm-hmm. So I ended up going to become a staff NP. about a year later, and I hated it. I hated it. Like, I hated that I couldn't move around the way I wanted to. I hated that I had a limit to how much I was going to be making. I was seeing 25 to 35 patients a day alone, and it just wasn't working out for me. And then I remember I came across a PA who worked the opposite days of me, and she was like, I'm only here because they're covering my tuition reimbursement. And I was like, well, they're not covering anything for me. Why am I here? Right? What's the benefits of being here? I'm just supporting your company, but what's the benefit? What do I get out of it? Yeah. And so I quit. After 4 months, I had quit completely. I didn't have a game plan. I didn't. It just was like, oh my God, well, what am I going to do now? But then I remembered in college, during our college fair, that there was like a couple of locum tenens tables, right? Because that's what I do now, travel NP, locum tenens. I usually use it interchangeably. And so there were locum tenens tables. And so I was like, let me try to just randomly apply to a locums position. I do have 4 months of experience in urgent care. I was left by myself all the time, so I felt comfortable managing that load of patients by myself. And I landed my first contract, and it wasn't even in urgent care, it was primary care. So I managed like HIV, other types of infectious diseases, mild chronic diseases, not too much. It was more so on the HIV and infectious diseases side. And from there, I just kept doing more contracts, urgent care. I was the nurse practitioner at the first COVID testing center in New York City when they had like the COVID testing outside. We were amongst the first ones, and I just left my assignment in California yesterday, doing urgent care. I stayed with them for 4 months. So that's pretty much has been my life, between like traveling as a nurse practitioner and then doing my international travels as well.
And why do you said a little bit about why you like it. I mean, in terms of, questioning, why do I work here? What am I getting from this? But why travel, and why, locums work? Tell me that.
Yes. So the perks about being a traveling NP is that your income is not capped, right? I can do multiple assignments I want to do. I can also do telehealth as well. And so I felt, and this is proven based on my tax returns, that my income has drastically grown since being a traveling NP, and deciding that when I want to work and how much I want to work. Maybe I can't do Monday to Friday. I can only do Monday to Wednesday because I'm working at another clinic and I want to be closer to home. So that's one of the perks. There's other perks, of course, with it, as far as being able to not work on holidays, being able to be around my family and friends more, not missing out on anybody's birthday or anything like that, and pretty much mapping how my year schedule looks like. I take about 3 big vacations where I take a month off, which is what I'm on now, my month off. And I focus on other things like business, my podcast, recording content for social media. And because that's what I do outside of nursing. And I remember being a staff NP and being so burnt out to the point where I thought about quitting nursing in general. I love patients. I love taking care of patients. I love the process of how they're doing and just making sure that my interventions worked for them, or if it didn't, what can I do to adjust that? I love that part. I didn't like the politics. I felt like nurses were undervalued and underpaid in general. And I thought it would make a difference from RN to NP. Like, ooh, I finally left the bedside. Now what? It didn't make a difference. So I'd rather be able to make sure that I'm mentally and physically okay, so that I can provide to my patients and make sure they are okay as well. I feel like you can't do that if you're not okay, if you don't feel happy in the position that you're in. So that's why I chose to be a locum, because I love doing that. And I know that I can take time off, attend to myself, and then when I'm ready, go back to it again.
What does travel do for you and give you? Like, how does it seems like it feeds you. It certainly seems like it's important to you. Yes. But what does it do for you?
So at first, when I first started traveling as a nurse in general, RN and NP, it was kind of my escape from like problems that's going on in the world and at home, family situations and stuff. Like I told you before, my brother struggles with mental illness, and me being the only person in my immediate family that understands mental health is draining. And explaining that, explaining that to my family and friends, and also dealing with that, explaining that to my patients and stuff like that, it became mentally draining, that I was always at a point where it's like, I need a break. I need to get away. I need to get away. My family, friends, they know that I'm on vacation, not to bother me. And that was good for me. It was a form of therapy for me. And it was super duper therapeutic. So, but the other part about it is learning about different cultures, learning that, everything is different in different countries, religion, and spending time with the locals. Those are like the things that I like to do. Then come back home and I feel refreshed again. I feel like, okay, now I can work on myself or do something different, or these problems that we're facing with the gas prices and inflation is not anything for me to be worried about. Right. So it mentally gave me like a sense of bringing me down to a space where I feel okay to operate. And it's something that I pretty much love to do all the time. So yes.
So the therapy side of it for you is giving you some space to be human, not to be a caregiver.
Of course.
And then also being able to, it sounds like to connect with culture, connect with other people, connect with places, and also maybe a dash of curiosity, like going to explore something. You talked about, being a travel nurse and assuming the identity of being someone who travels alone, not being scared of that, and being like, oh yeah, like what could be possible if I traveled to someplace that I didn't know.
Yes.
Okay. So tell me kind of, what's your version then of the good life? What is it? Are you living it? Are you there? Are you kind of there? What do you think?
I think I'm living it. I'm definitely living it. My form of luxury is a little bit different than everybody else's, or luxury looks different to everybody, but my form of luxury is a minimalist. I'm very minimalist. I don't have anything under my name besides my dog. I guess she's under my name. She's my only responsibility. Right. So that was major for me. Debt-free also was major for me. The ability to be able to up and leave and travel whenever I wanted to, wherever I wanted to, the perks that came with traveling as a nurse practitioner that's able to reflect into me being a content creator as well, like hotel stays, using points for paying for things, using points for using airline points, airline lounges. And so for me, I think that I am living the life that I want to live, and it's pretty much only up from here.
Yeah, good for you.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about kind of some of your favorite places, just out of sheer curiosity. You said, I think maybe Dubai, or I can't remember which one you said, but where's kind of one of the favorite places that you've traveled? What are your top 3 if you had to give them?
Yes. So I really, really love, and I'm going back, I love East Africa. Tanzania is where I went to in February. I loved it so much that I'm bringing, like, I do group trips as well. So I'm bringing a group with me back to Tanzania. I like Turkey. I just came back from Turkey, actually. So, and what I liked about Turkey was that there's like endless amount of things to do there and see. And one of the places I went to in Turkey was Cappadocia. Beautiful place, and I would recommend anybody to go to Cappadocia. And my third place was I gotta think, Costa Rica. When I'm in Costa Rica, I feel it's weird because when I travel, I have different feelings, right? So when I'm in Costa Rica, I kind of feel like at ease, like I feel at peace. The rainforest is a lot of rain there, listening to the rain, listening to the crickets, feeling myself, reinventing myself again. That's how I feel when I go to Costa Rica. When I'm in Tanzania, I felt connected, especially with, that side of culture, Muslims, and just the Maasai tribe, like digging deeper into culture in Tanzania. I felt amazing there. And of course, Turkey is just like, you can walk around and you're like, wow, like this spot is so cool. This is so beautiful. And it's very different. It almost doesn't look like it's real. So those, everywhere I go, is always a different type of connection and feeling. I would say that those are the 3 top places that I really, really enjoyed going to.
Tell me about what you like about nursing, in terms of, and you've talked about it a little bit, for the flexibility, it sounds like, and not having the politics and stuff, but tell me what you like about being able to switch from urgent care to primary care to more mild or chronic disease care, or like tell me why that's appealing to you. I'm curious.
I would say I would have to backtrack to why I do it now. But pretty much when I was in NP school, I thought that I knew what I wanted to do. I was like, every clinical rotation I had, I'm like, this is what I want to do. I did a psych rotation. I'm like, yes, I want to get in psych. Then I did peds. I was like, yes, I want to deal with peds. And so at the end of when I graduated, I was just like, I still don't know what I want to do. And I did 2 years of this and I still don't know what I want to do. So fast forward to now, the ability to have family medicine under my background says a lot, right? Because you can branch off into almost everything, a little touch of everything you want to be in. And so locums is able to give me that opportunity once I develop that skills. So if I have skills in primary care, then I can be submitted to primary care positions. Urgent care is my main specialty. That's where I have most of my experience in. And that's why I'm into urgent care. I had a little bit of occupational health recently. I spent like 4 months in occupational health. So I can do some occupational health as well if the clinic is like a urgent care clinic with Occ Health or those. I don't have my DLT certification, but if I have my DLT certification, it'll make me a stronger candidate. So making myself more marketable in the locum tenens world, like you can pretty much branch into anything and anything. So that's pretty much what I love about it, besides like taking care of patients and seeing like their progression as well.
Have you ever considered doing your own practice?
I have. So that is actually one of my goals, my future goals. I just haven't gotten to it yet, but yes, I have.
Tell me what you've learned about, from being an influencer and just being online and creating a brand for yourself, in essence. Tell me what it sounds like you've dipped a toe into entrepreneurship. You've got your side hustle with creating these group travel, which I would love for you to share about, actually. But tell me kind of what draws you to entrepreneurship and kind of what sounds appealing to it, about it.
Yes. So entrepreneurship is hard. Oh my gosh. It is so hard. But I love the fact that when I have an idea, I can execute it, right? You don't know who feels the same way like you. There's going to be people that disagree. I know there's people out there like, why haven't you settled down yet? Like I have that from my family members. So that's probably why I'm saying. The fact of the matter is that when you do have an idea and you can execute it, and then there's people that actually agree with you, that actually listens to you, that's actually into what you do, purchasing your products. And not only that, just the ability to change somebody's life makes me feel good. So not only do I have travel, which you said we'll get into, travel group trips, I also teach people how to get into locums as well, because that was something that, and till this day, people try it themselves. You're not going to really know everything until you actually get into it and go through those pitfalls and downfalls. And, when I started, I never negotiated my pay. And it was just like, okay, Ebony, no, you cannot do that no more. When I started, I was in like $30,000 in taxes I had to pay back that I really didn't have to pay back. So just being able to teach people that, you can create the dream career. This is not what's taught in nursing school, but you have to be able to do it the right way. And so the nurse practitioners that I do come across, they might not necessarily be interested in travel, or they are, because I do have some that are like, look, I want to branch into business, like owning my own med spa and hydration, and locums can help you in that way as well, because now you have the freedom, flexibility, and the supplemental income, or it can be your immediate income towards your business. I had recently a new mom that came to me, new mom NP, and her main goal of doing locums was for her to have time with her family and spend time with her baby. I met her during my first travel, no, I think it was like my third travel NP assignment. She was a staff at that time. So it was amazing to see that she's creating the life that she wants to live, right? As far as like my group trips, my main initiative of my group trips is for those who want to get into content creation and start a travel blog, or start anything, or start working with hotels or anything in that nature. They usually come on our group trips, me and my business partner, and they grab their content. They learn about being a solo traveler as well. They get comfortable, because we get a lot of not even nurses, a lot of people in general, some are nurses, some are not, that come solo. Because their friends are unable to come with them, or don't have the freedom and flexibility like they do. So they trust me enough to come on my group trips so that they can learn and they can take content and so on. So it's just been amazing. Like, entrepreneurship is definitely not for the weak. There's days where you feel like, you're laying in bed, you're like, I don't feel like getting up and doing this at 5 or 6 in the morning. I don't feel like creating content, right? Like,
Yep.
I don't feel like doing this. Like, I'm just gonna quit. Like, this is not working or whatever. So it's been a process for sure. But I love it. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, good for you. Tell
Thank
me
you.
what you think holds people back, most nurses back, from doing kind of the whatever, whether it's taking the travel NP, the locums position as nurse, as a travel NP, whether it's becoming the person who, goes on a solo trip. And what do you think holds people back the most?
I think the main thing that holds people back is fear. I feel like when you are ingrained that things are, and this happened to me too, when you are ingrained that things are a certain way, especially in life in general, then you go to school and your professors are teaching you that this is how it is. They never teach you business stuff. They only teach you about working pretty much at bedside, or working as an NP in the clinics and stuff like that. They don't teach you that. So then you get into the world and like, okay, this is how it's supposed to be. So I used to always have that thought when I first became a locum, and I first started doing my own thing, that this is just temporary. Like, this is just, I always had that thought. And now I'm 3 years in and I'm like, this is real life. This is my life. This is it for me, and I love it. I found something that I love to do. And it's like I told you before, when I was in NP school and I graduated, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. So it got to this point 3 years later that I'm like, this is what I want to do. And I want to show people how to do it. Right. So fear is one of the biggest things. And I think also, like, people are comfortable where they're at. So when it's time to get uncomfortable for them, it's like they don't know what to do or how to go about it or who to connect with. So I think that for us, like nurses in general, they don't realize how much they can do with their career too, with their degrees. The fact that I can go back to bedside and work as an RN if I wanted to. And I actually did that in the beginning of the pandemic as well. The fact that I can just be like, well, I'm tired of bedside. Let me go and work as a locum, or I'm tired of working in the clinic. Let me do telehealth. You have to get comfortable with being that, right? The flexibility of your income as well. You have to get comfortable with that. You're used to working working 312s on Monday to Friday and then getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, right? So you have to get comfortable with the changes that's going to happen with your career as well. And I think that's the main thing, fear and the fact of being uncomfortable.
Yeah, being comfortable with the uncomfortable. Yeah, we talk about that a lot for my group coaching program that we do, because you are absolutely, and I would say from my experience, it's very similar, right? Trying to do hard things, whether it's create a new service, create a new product, market it, learn how to do digital marketing, learn how to navigate the world of social media, use it to your advantage. I mean, all of it is vomit inducing on a good day for a lot of people. And actually, I think it's interesting because nurses in general are not afraid of hard work.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I think is so interesting to see when we start talking about business and we start talking about entrepreneurship, making some money, a side hustle, creating a private practice. It's like all of a sudden this fear comes out and of that's not for me. I don't do business. This is like, I don't know. Like, I can't do that. Yeah. And I think it's so interesting because I'm like, wait a minute, you can run a code for Christ's sakes. You can like, you could build a COVID, test center. Like, I have some clients who were like, oh yeah, for CVS Minute Clinic or for Little Clinic, like, oh yeah, I just put together the whole COVID testing program and, grew it and expanded it by 3 sites. And I'm like, you're scared of running a business? Come on.
Right.
You could do hard things. You've done them your entire career. Nursing school was hard. NP school was hard, but somehow you were like clear laser focus, trying to get there. And I just think it's fascinating when it comes to business and, stepping out into this kind of a out of the box thinker about what you could do with your nursing background. And, there, all this resistance comes up. And I think I agree with you that it's very much fear driven.
It is. Definitely.
all coming from like, oh shit, I don't know.
It happened to me, so I know.
yeah, exactly. Me too. So you're in good company. Tell me a little bit more about this next travel trip that you have coming up and kind of this group and what you guys are doing.
Yeah, sure. So I have my group is called Global Escape Travels. We're going to Tanzania. So me and my business partner decided to go back to Tanzania, which is, I love it. Oh my God, I'm thinking about it now. That's why. So it's in September. And we operate a little bit different. We're both predominantly solo travelers for the very reason that sometimes everybody's travel style is not the same as yours. Right? I do a lot of hiking. I hiked the volcano and people are like, oh my God, you're crazy. I jumped out of planes. I slept in tents. I slept in planes. Like, so, that's not everybody's cup of tea. And so we're very selective with the people that come with us. Not only that, we only host in small, intimate group trips. So our group trips are up to 10 people, no more than 10 people. We'll be like, you know what, you can join the next one, or we have upcoming trips, which we have Egypt. I went to Egypt, she did too. Egypt, Turkey coming up, and I think we'll do Bali or something like that in the future. But they're small, intimate group trips where they are content driven. So they're geared towards those who want to build their brand around travel. So we also like once they join the group trip that they want of their choice, we have mini group chats. So it's virtual group chats that we see each other via Zoom, and we discuss the itinerary. They're a part of making up the itinerary as well, which is amazing because they're like, okay, guys, I seen this on social media. Is it possible to add this in it? And most of the girls' main reason, because everybody pretty much is coming solo, is because their friends are scared, fear again, to do that. So I always say, well, how are you going to grow that travel brand that you want if you're always scared or you're always canceling because your friends cannot make it? So our group trips are geared towards them to tell them, come along with us, and so we'll post inside our virtual group. So we're like, we kind of grow to know each other ahead of time, because it's scary. Like, you're going by yourself, you don't know who you're going with and stuff like that. So we kind of like just post, we have our group meets once a month. We'll post like travel inspo, outfits to wear, and place inspo that we're going to. We do activities. Of course, we dig right into culture. So our groups are pretty much geared the way that me and my business partner travels, which we travel the same, and we actually met through social media. And we met on our first trip for the first time with our group. So people find that hard to believe. They're like, oh my God, you didn't know each other before? No, we met each other the same way you guys met. We met each other. So that's pretty much it. I love it. I don't travel with a lot of people because of our travel styles being different, but we make it very clear. And I think that my page kind of gives off a little bit of travel blogging and content creation and culture and adventurous activities as well. So it kind of gets that traveler to kind of join us.
Okay. Tell me what, knowing what you know now about brand development, about entrepreneurship, about locums work, tell me what you would tell your, younger self, maybe the Ebony of 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. What advice would you give her? Because I don't know. I mean, tell me this, do you today, like, if you had to be honest about looking back, like, could you have plotted, like, yeah, on this day, in August, I'm going to be sitting talking on a podcast about, all these world travels that I've had, planning group travel trips, helping people develop their brands. Like, did you know that this is where you would be?
Absolutely not. So a lot of people don't know this about me. I'm very shy. Still to this day, I'm very shy. And I remember my coach before I went to her, because everybody has a coach in business. That's number one. My coach before I went to her, she was just like, it's amazing to see you actually talk, because I always used to look at your pictures and just be like, oh my God, this girl is inspo. But she doesn't talk. She just posts pictures. She'll post videos, but she doesn't talk. So she was surprised when I came to her about, like, here's my business idea. And, it was pretty much about my struggle as a travel MP and how I wanted people to avoid struggling as well. I don't want them to take that same path. So, making connections with people initially 3 years ago was hard for me. Like, I wouldn't even think I would be able to sit in front of you and do this podcast right now, or even have my own podcast. And I still struggle with some public health, but my other friend, she's trying to help me get into that stuff. I think I need to do some classes, or I don't know, but that is currently one of my goals right now, is to pretty much be able to speak to people more. But I've come a long way, trust me. And in order for my brand to grow and develop, I had to, again, get uncomfortable. So,
yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, I would just tell my younger self to open up more. Because there's endless of opportunities that happen when you make connections.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if you characterize yourself as an introvert, but I agree. I think I'm very introverted, and, my battery gets drained real easily. And so I'm very conscious of that. Now, a couple of years ago, I didn't have an appreciation for it, so to speak, and I didn't know how to manage it. And so I think it's interesting to be, again, if you feel like you are an introvert, to be the one who says, 5 days a week in the clinic, or this type of, being a staff NP doesn't work for me. And I'm going to go out and create something that does. And by the way, if my natural default is to shy away from connection, not because I don't love it, but because sometimes it just feels hard, then, maybe one thing I can do is to connect, to be more vulnerable, to open up.
Right.
And to do it in a pace and in a manner which serves me, right? Like, which doesn't, create exhaustion for me, and which isn't all day, every fucking day,
Right. Exactly.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I think that will be so helpful. There are so many things that you've shared today that I think are going to be so supportive, because there are, as you and I both, I think, would agree, there are so many advanced practice nurses who are out there, nurses in general, who are out there thinking that they have a prison sentence of what they can or can't do with the license that they have. And the reality is, in my opinion, sky is the limit in terms of what is possible when you become willing to consider, what you could do with all of your skills, with your brilliance, with your expertise, with the way you like to live, with the interests that you have and how you could piece something together for yourself just as beautifully as you have done. And so I thank you for sharing it. And I thank you for being an example of what's possible, because I think there are a lot of nurses out there who think it's just not for us, like that can't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you guys, all you need to do, if you're like, I still am not convinced, all you need to do is stop the podcast right now. We'll finish the podcast episode, but then go over and find Ebony on Instagram and understand what we are talking about. You'll see some of her pictures and you will feel it. You will feel what it could be like to be a, person who invests in travel and invests in her work and doesn't let work, run life, right? Like uses work to fuel what she loves. You are just a stunning example of that. So I thank you for that. So
thank you so much.
So tell people, because now people are going to be, wait, how do I find her? Tell us all the details. How do they find you? If they want to reach out to you, if they're like, wait a minute, number one, I want to go to Tanzania. Number two, I want to develop my brand. Number three, I want to understand how to live the life of Ebony Thyme. And I want to, go do, like, how do they find you?
Yes. So my travel page is on Instagram. It's at front page front page _ EB. That's where people will find all of my amazing travels, uncovering like stuff that people don't even think, or places that people wouldn't even think of going to. So you'll find that there. Also, Global Escape Travels. It's also a link in my bio as well. When you click there, it says travel with me, and you can join one of our upcoming group trips as well. They're small, intimate group trips. And if you come alone, don't worry about it. You're going to be in amazing hands. And then on the nursing side, if anybody that is listening wanted to get into traveling as an NP, and it doesn't necessarily mean state to state travel like I do. It doesn't necessarily need to be full-time like I do. It can be local travel and part-time or per diem travel as well. It can actually fuel into your business income as well. So you don't necessarily have to quit your job, but you can still learn about being a locum, and you can find me there on the NP, that's EBB, the NP. The link is in my bio. I have multiple resources about being a travel NP, depending on your level. Travel Bootcamp Masterclass, which is like, I just want to learn how to be a locum NP and get the recruiters that you're talking about and just start tomorrow kind of thing. Whereas my 8-week course is just a little bit more training and learning about taxes and, business and stocks and investments. That's my 8-week course curriculum as well. I'm also on YouTube as Travel with Eb, and that's where I post my travels, and I also post my travels as an NP as well. And my podcast, Time Talks, that's my last name is THYME. Talks is TALKS. And that's pretty much me being vulnerable. I'm not a video person, but I can talk all day via audio. So it's my way of expressing myself. I speak about entrepreneurship, life in general, nursing, travel, anything and everything I speak on there as far as that goes. I will get back to it, but that's where you can find me there as well.
Okay, good. And for anybody else who's like, wait a minute, how do I do? Just go type her name in Google, for Christ's sakes. Just Ebony Thyme, THYME, and you'll see it on Forbes and Insider, because I put your name in Google. I was like, this girl's famous. She's on Forbes. She's on Insider. She's making the rounds. Good for you.
And then when the patients find you on social media and DM you and tell you how amazing of a provider you were when they came to see you for anything, it's like awkward, but it's nothing I could do about it. But yes, Ebony Thyme, you can find everything and anything about me and read some of my cool articles as well.
They are fantastic. Good for you. Yes.
Thank you.
You are an example of what is possible. And I commend you for that. And I thank you for it. And I appreciate you for it. So, all right. So keep traveling. If you guys are looking for Ebony, remember she's listed all of her sites. I'll put it in the show notes today. And if you want to find her, go reach out. And remember, if Ebony can do it, if I can do it, there's no reason that you can't. So it's time to get started and to put the fear aside and not let it drive the bus. So Ebony, thank you so much for being here today on Nurses Living the Good Life. And we will see you next time. Enjoy your travel up to Tanzania, or down to Tanzania, rather, I guess we should say. Good to
Thank
see
you.
you. Thank
No
you.
problem.
Bye.
Bye.